Well, buenos dias, good morning from Madrid-Barajas International Airport. We're at Terminal 4, just been dropped off in a taxi, absolute sheer chaos. I've never had a taxi drop off like it, but we've both made it here and we're good to go. So I'm going to take you inside the terminal now at T4, start this journey down to Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and take you on the way with me. It all began at Madrid-Barajas Airport early in the morning, the day full of promise and a long journey to Brazil ahead. Now, Iberia and Iberia Express, at the time of recording this video in April 2025, operate exclusively out of Terminal 4, along with all the other One World airlines. We arrived in the terminal looking for the bag drop desks as we'd checked in using the Iberia app 36 hours before departure. Now, the app is a real minefield, as it states check-in opens 24 hours prior to departure, but we, through sheer luck of just checking the app, noticed it was open a lot sooner. So just make sure that doesn't catch you out if you're flying Iberia, especially if you depend on the free seat selection. Now, the app is incredibly clunky. It took us 2 attempts to even check in and a further 3 attempts to get mobile boarding passes. But I think perseverance is key here, because if you just keep clicking the buttons, eventually a mobile boarding pass should show up. After finding the bag drop desks, which were located pretty much directly opposite the main entrance, we encountered a member of staff who told us this was a bag drop, but not the bag drop, and ushered us over to desk 810. We arrived at that desk and stood in the queue for a good 15 minutes and were reaching halfway when a Spanish woman breezed over and began shouting for everyone to follow her. My husband attempted to ensure she knew we were queuing for the Rio de Janeiro flight, and she just waved her hands in the air and told us to follow along anyway. We then walked back on ourselves to the original bag drop area and beyond to a new one. Finally, we arrived at the third bag drop location, which was actually labelled for groups and unaccompanied minors. After squeezing past a group of equally confused exchange students, finally we were able to drop our luggage. So, whether the bags join us for a week of sun, sea and samba in Rio, or tag along with the foreign exchange students learning Japanese in Tokyo, was anyone's guess. Now, after bag dropping, a further gate agent stopped us and pointed out that our flight was not actually departing from Terminal 4, rather Terminal 4S, the S standing for satellite, which, as you can see on this sign, was just a short 23 minutes away. We thought we best head there straight away for fear of getting stuck in this infinite Spanish escalator loop, and Terminal 4S is linked to Terminal 4 by train, so after a smooth but significant link on a driverless train, we arrived and enjoyed, yes, you've guessed it, some more Spanish escalators. Believe you me, at this point, after passport control, I was ready for a drink, so we followed the signs to the VIP Sala Neptuno Lounge, which is included in our Priority Pass membership through our American Express Platinum card. Dos Cervezas por favor certainly sprang to mind. Well, if my hair looks a little windswept, it's because it is. That's got to be the most chaotic journey through an airport in my life. Unbelievable. People shouting, people screaming, different lines being moved from different lines to other lines, which then get sort of moved back to the original lines. Just total inefficiency and chaos. Welcome to Madrid-Barajas International Airport. Not a lot of good things to say, sadly, so far. Now, though, on a positive spin, in the Neptuno Lounge in T4S. So if you're ever departing from T4S, make sure you give yourself a good sort of 40 to 50 minutes to get over here. So we'll take you on a whistle-stop tour of the lounge, show you what this lounge is like. From initial impressions of walking through, it's looking to be quite a nice lounge, actually. Beautiful runway views, nice glass facade, and it looks like there's a good selection of food and drinks on offer. So I'll show you around there now, and you can make a decision for yourself. Now, the Neptuno Lounge showcases stunning airport views and mixes the space well with a combination of open seating, more private areas, and workbenches with lots of power adapters. On offer was still and sparkling water in glass bottles, a nice touch if you ask me. A variety of sodas from Fused Tea to Aquarius, as well as all the usual suspects from Coca-Cola, Sprite and Fanta, also in glass bottles. There was a variety of fruit available, as well as sweeter treats including donuts, pastries and many more. There was a proper coffee machine on offer with lots of options including hot chocolate, a selection of fresh bread and a large toaster. And whilst I'm not one for condoning breaking the rules, when a lounge attendant gives the thumbs up to another guest to toast a sandwich, I think it's probably fair game. Speaking of sandwiches, there was a large variety from ham and cheese, chorizo to vegetarian options as well. There were also yogurts, vanilla custards, creme caramel and chocolate mousses. For the non-drinkers, there's also fresh juices from Don Simon in bottles, including this really good pineapple juice. There was a good selection of refrigerated beers, including a 0% option from San Miguel. There was fresh orange juice and free-flow spirits, and a selection of relatively good red wines. There were also refrigerated rosé wines, white wines, and of course a selection of sparkling. There's also a fridge full of food catering to various dietary and religious needs. You can enter the Neptuno Lounge using Priority Pass like we did. You can also enter if you have a Dragon Pass membership or Lounge Key membership, or if you happen to be flying business class with Emirates, Etihad or LL. Now I have to say this lounge was quite a relaxing stay, so definitely worth a visit if you have time to kill. It's worth mentioning also there's shower and sleep room facilities at no extra cost, as well as a variety of papers and magazines for you to read. But with that came the call that our flight was boarding, so we headed to the gate.
Good morning, we start the boarding for Iberia flight 269, destination Rio. We are boarding by groups. Please check your group in your boarding pass.
Now, we were boarded on time and strictly by group numbers, which, after our initial experience with Iberia that very same morning, was quite shocking. And I have to say that it started off very well organised. That was until we were told that we'd be departing from a remote stand and the bus would wait for all groups to join. This meant that priority boarders were pushed to the back of the bus to enable them to get as many people on as possible, and those without status were now in pole position to board the aircraft first, while priority boarders, including those in business class, were at the back of the queue. Now, I don't want to come across negative, as priority boarding doesn't really pay me, and I'm certainly not one of those customers who fight to get on the aircraft first, but it does frustrate me when airlines advertise it as a perk and then do everything in their power to not honour it. All that aside though, we arrived at our aircraft after quite a lengthy bus ride. Iberia name aircraft after various cities, and today this 8-year-old A330-200, which was delivered to Iberia in June 2016, is named after the Uruguayan capital of Montevideo. Today we're sitting on row 21 in the A and C seats. The configuration on the A330 with Iberia is that of 242, so the A or C or J or L pairs are great if you're travelling as a 2. As you can see though, 21A and C is right at the front of the economy cabin, so you'll be guaranteed to be the first ones off. Just a little tip. You get a small white pillow and Iberia red blanket in economy. This one, however, was completely stained, and sadly this ties into the cleanliness of this entire aircraft, and I'm sorry to report, it was absolutely filthy. Cleanliness aside though, the seat features reading lights but no individual air vents. I think this is a bit of a miss personally, an IFE remote and recline button, with Iberia giving between 13 and 15 centimetres of recline on this particular aircraft type, and a 9-inch IFE screen that's stored in the housing of the seat. The screens have USB-A adapters, but there's no USB-C or universal charging sockets. There's a manual window blind at every window seat, and the tray tables are also stored in the seat housing. Now these were quite large and pushed out far enough so that they didn't intrude on our space. I do like that Iberia have gone all out with the headrests. They're actually a red leather-like material and do feel quite premium. This is a bit of a plus point, but the biggest selling point of all, you've guessed it, it was the legroom. We then sat waiting. And waiting. And waiting. Before the flight crew finally made a PA about 45 minutes in.
We have had delay due to a failure we have in the plane, and the core maintenance is working on it. I think in about 5 to 10 minutes we will be able to tell you something more sure. Thank you.
So we sat and patiently waited, and at one point thought we were being rescued by an Iberia A350, but sadly we had no such luck. The captain then came on the PA and said that maintenance couldn't fix the issue.
It's going to take some time to prepare the plane, so coordination has decided to change the plane. So we are going to disembark and we will get back to the gate in half an hour as soon as possible. Thank you very much. I'm sorry for that. Thank you.
I started to feel like perhaps I was in some form of Spanish candid camera. There was a lot of head shaking and thumbs down, but no actual urge to move us off the plane. Who knew if or when a bus would turn up? At this point, I'd lost all hope and spent the time looking at just how badly maintained this aircraft was. After a further 30-minute wait, a bus finally arrived to take us back to the terminal, so we made a break for it while the chance presented itself. As we returned to the terminal, the screen now showed a new departure time of 13:30. Deep down, most of us knew that wasn't going to happen, but two Iberia staff members did their best to convince us otherwise. Moments later, the time changed. Then it changed again, and again. It was clear that no one really knew what was going on. No refreshments were offered and no compensation mentioned. When passengers began to get understandably frustrated, some simply asking for basic things like bottled water, the staff quietly walked away, leaving everyone stranded and confused. Come on, Iberia, you can do better than this. So my husband and I decided that if Iberia weren't going to help us, we'd have to force their hand, and went on the hunt for the information desk. We finally found the Iberia customer centre, and yes, you guessed it, it was permanently closed. After finding another member of staff, he told us we needed to go to the gate urgently as the replacement flight was boarding, so we did. The plane was not boarding. Here we met the lovely Patricia, who was equally as exasperated as us. Finally though, we were down the air bridge after 45 minutes waiting and onto the new aircraft bound for Rio. So aboard a new aircraft, still an A330 with Iberia, A330-200, still going to Rio, or at least at this moment in time, we hope. Was told to rush down to the gate by the Iberia lounge staff. Apparently this flight was departing in 10 minutes time, so my husband and I rushed down to the gate and we stayed there for about 40 minutes. Now boarded, whether or not we're going or not, I mean it's looking very positive at this moment in time, but who knows, it looked positive the first time round. So I'll keep you posted, and once we're airborne we can really kick into this trip report and get things started. Now I know you're probably going to start thinking this is a bit of a wind-up, and honestly, so did we. So just a quick update, an hour after I recorded that last clip, we're still here. 6 no-shows on the flight, so they've got to unload their baggage, and as they were unloading their baggage, a proportion of those people arrived, so they've now got to reload their bags. So yeah, we're just still waiting. The crew brought round some small snacks, a tropical flavoured cereal bar and some unsalted and blanched almonds. These were great. As I opened my bag of nuts, I looked out the window and saw what I thought was a mirage. Yes, finally, we were away. In all seriousness though, I guess this is what happens when you don't communicate with your passengers. It's not that any of these people intentionally no-showed, they just had no idea where to go after the gate staff had walked off, which in turn delayed the replacement flight even further. The crew, in fairness, raced around to begin the service. They were out of their jump seats very, very early into the climb, so you can't fault their willingness to get everybody fed. There was certainly a lot of hungry people on board. Now, Iberia allows you to view your exact food menu on all your future flight bookings. All you have to do is go to Iberia's website, enter your flight details and the cabin you're travelling in, and the menu is available to download instantly. I really like this feature and wish more airlines would do this. So just thought I'd come on here and talk about the food. To be honest with you, when the options were presented to ourselves, we didn't particularly, feel either of them were great. One was a sweet corn pasta, the other was a meatballs in a tomato sauce. And when you have that idea of meatballs, sometimes you have that idea of kind of an Italian sauce. But this was really nice. It was like a creamy tomato sauce, very, very, almost like a warm gazpacho. Meatballs were great, served with a side of dauphinoise potatoes, cheese-topped dauphinoise. There was a starter of quinoa with sour cream, peppers, tomatoes. That was okay, probably a little bland for my liking, but the main was really good. And dessert was a cinnamon cake, apple and cinnamon cake with crumble on top. Also really, really nice. Served with a hot bread roll, a bottle of water, and a drink of your choice. Service is friendly but direct. You'll have a can of Cola Zero, thrown in your face and a glass thrown at you quite quickly. But I think, the crew just want to get everybody fed as quickly as possible, so I kind of sympathise with them there. But the service is very blunt, to say the least. But no, from the two options that were presented to ourselves to what we got and what we ate, we both agree that the food was really, really nice, so no major complaints from us here. It's the thumb of approval. A tea and coffee service followed shortly afterwards, which gave us the chance to settle in and look out on the stunning views over North Africa. This really is a beautiful part of the world. Also, if there's any super clever airport geeks watching this video who knows what airport this is in North Africa, then let me know in the comments below. We were trying to work it out, but the moving map was quite vague, and of course we can't Google on the Wi-Fi, it's just messaging only, so we didn't really ever get an answer. But if it helps, here's the route we took. Now, as Iberia is part of the One World Alliance also, they too, like British Airways, offer free Wi-Fi messaging for its Iberia Plus members. This will give you a very limited connection and was just enough for my husband to receive football updates through WhatsApp from a close friend, although considering the result, I'm sure he wouldn't have been too upset if the Iberia Wi-Fi had failed. If you do want to upgrade to a streaming package though, you can see the prices that Iberia charge here. I thought now would be an appropriate time to inspect the toilets, and in the first unit I went in, they weren't the best. They're also absolutely battered, with interiors peeling off everywhere. The second toilet I checked later on in the flight had this rather obvious defect. I did tell the cabin crew, just so nobody got injured, but was just told, we know, and it happens. And they continued to keep the toilet operational for the remainder of the flight. The crew then came round and asked all passengers to close their window blinds. They dimmed the lights, and so I thought it might be an appropriate time to test the seat a bit further and get an hour or so's sleep. Now, the seat does feel quite comfortable and the headrest is very supportive, so there's absolutely no qualms here. You'd certainly be comfortable on a flight of this length. What I did get frustrated about though is the cabin crew leaving the curtains open in the mid-galley with the light on. This really hampers the chances of any sleep for the entirety of row 21. After a good 30 minutes of quite moderate turbulence, I'd given in on any chances of a rest on this flight, as had fellow passengers around me. We grabbed a drink from the self-serve unit that the crew had left in the galley, and tried one of these little palmier snacks, a crunchy, sugary coated pastry tuile. So way over halfway into the flight now, about 4.5 hours to go, just in between Africa and Brazil over the South Atlantic. Sun's pretty much just set now and it's gone down quite quick. In the last half an hour we've gone from pretty much daylight to going quite dark. Cabin crew have just come round. They've given us a second snack service, which we assumed was the final meal service, but apparently not. They're going to come round before we land into Rio de Janeiro with a final lighter meal, which we're reliably informed is a sandwich and a chocolate bar, so stay tuned for that one. But the tapas box was really nice. You had a pack of olives, you had a bag of breadsticks, Spanish breadsticks, and then a queso gouda sort of cream cheese dip. All really nice, no complaints. So as much as it's been a bit of a frustrating start to the journey and there's been other sort of little niggles along the way on this flight, Iberia certainly make up for it with the food. They're keeping us very well fed. And that was really it for the next couple of hours. I did a bit of editing and work on the flight, took in the views and tried to stay warm as it was incredibly cold. The cabin crew did ask once if we wanted anything and we asked for another packet of biscuits. Instead he returned from business class with a very large glass of whiskey. I guess it might have warmed us up a little, so we just took the small win. My husband and I was just calculating how long we've been on the go, and it's currently about 20 hours by the time we land. I mean, somewhere closer to a full day on the go from when we got up in Madrid. It's been a testing flight report, this one, and I'd love to sit here and say there's lots of positives, but sadly there isn't. So we're about an hour before we touch down into Rio. The crew just bought their final meal service round, which was a ham and cheese sandwich, a ham and gouda sandwich. It was okay, it was palatable. There was supposed to be some form of dessert, chocolate bar or something with it. That never turned up. But we did get 2 cups of tea, just if anything to warm the hands, not to drink, because it is so unbelievably cold on here. But yeah, we're getting closer to Brazil now, just an hour to go before we touch down. So I'll film that landing into Rio de Janeiro for you. Obviously, because at this moment in time, we are so heavily delayed, we obviously qualify for the EU 261 compensation, which as it stands would be £520 for myself, £520 for my husband, who is sat just here. So that's just over £1,000, which is quite nice and makes the delay a little bit more bearable. That's on the provisory that it goes off the aircraft door opening, so that's on the provisory that the aircraft doors are open before 9:50, 21:50, and we're currently due to land, as in wheels down, at Brazil at 21:46, which is quite tight, and that's the difference between 200 and something pounds and 520 something pounds. So those 4 minutes really make a difference. So what I'll do is I'll keep you posted on this one. If the claim gets approved before we put this video up, then I'll go into a bit more detail before the credit roll to let you know what happened. But if anything is to go by with Iberia's processes that we've seen today, something tells me this claim is not going to be straightforward.
Bienvenidos a Río de Janeiro. Por favor, permanezcan sentados y con su cinturón de seguridad abrochado hasta que se apague la señal luminosa. Desde este momento puede desconectar el modo avión de sus dispositivos electrónicos de mano. Son las 10 menos 10 hora local. Si han solicitado asistencia, por favor, esperen hasta ser atendidos. Tengan cuidado al abrir los compartimentos superiores. Muchas gracias por volar con Iberia. Esperamos verles pronto de nuevo.
Well, there's no glossing it up, it was a chaotic ride with Iberia. But hey, a 6-minute taxi to the gate? That's practically gold when it comes to EU compensation terms. We were tired, we were running on fumes, and after nearly 24 hours in transit, a bed had never sounded so good. From a rainy Rio de Janeiro to wherever you are in the world, I've been James Warren Oliver, and thanks for coming along for the journey. I'll see you in the next one. Now, just quickly before the end of the video, let's talk about this EU 261 compensation claim. In the taxi from Rio de Janeiro International to our hotel in Copacabana, I logged the 2 forms, one for me and one for my husband, with Iberia on their website. This was on the 5th of April. On the 10th of April, whilst still in Brazil, my husband and I both received an email stating that Iberia were going to pay us the €600 each, so €1,200 in total as compensation for the delay. And by the 14th of April, the money was in our bank accounts. As disappointing as this experience with Iberia was, I don't think you can say fairer than that. And whilst I'm hard pressed to find many positives from this trip, perhaps I'll return to Iberia in the near future and get the true taste of Spanish hospitality. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and tap the bell icon so you never miss another upload. Plenty more aviation, travel and hotel content coming your way. See you in the next one.